For the time being, let's focus on Hindalco. Posted a good set of numbers, aluminium business as well as copper business. Both of them, the EBITDA number came in better than what the street was working with. To discuss the past quarter and more importantly, the way ahead, Mr. Satish Pai, the managing director at Hindalco, joins in. Hi, Mr. Pai. Thanks a lot for joining in. Well, the aluminium prices saw a big surge, and that was the benefit you got in the past quarter. But now global demand has pulled back a little bit. What is the range you're working with regard to aluminium prices from here on?
See, I don't think I'm going to change my range. I think it's going to be between 2,200 and 2,400 on an average. As you rightfully said, depending on macroeconomic or geopolitical events that happen, you see spikes in the commodity price, and then they sort of correct down. So it's going to be a fairly volatile period for all commodities in general, because the world is in a fairly volatile state. So from a guidance point of view, I would not change my guidance and say that aluminium is still going to be in that 2,200 to 2,400 range.
Okay, fair enough. Sir, let's focus on the aluminum business. And you've focused on the cost side, which seems to be working really well. But then prices have seen a sharp decline, aluminum prices, that is. So what is the kind of EBITDA per ton that we can perhaps work with from this quarter's number, which was close to 1,250 per ton?
So I think that honestly, you could assume that in Q2, the costs will be flattish with Q1. So if you lose $100, $200 from the top line of the LME, you would see that negative reflected on the EBITDA per ton as well.
Okay, all right. So maybe $100, $200 per ton pullback. But I think if you derive the number, the aluminium EBITDA per ton will still be over $1,000 per ton. Got that. Let's focus on copper. Copper EBITDA has broken out that 550 to 600 crores in a quarterly basis. Now, since you've delivered 800 crores in the first quarter, what's the new copper EBITDA run rate, so to call it, on a quarterly basis from here on?
So I think I'm going to be again very consistent and say that our guidance remains at around the 600 crores. What happens in copper is that because of derivative hedge accounting that we do, because it's offset hedged, you do get some positives and negatives. So fortunately in Q1 it was positive. Sometimes it can be negative. So I would say that our sort of normal run rate for EBITDA for the copper is more around 600.
Okay, so since we're done with the India piece, let's focus on Novelis. The EBITDA per ton was at around $525 per ton, but you'll get hit by around $30 million due to the flooding. That's in the second quarter. So what's the outlook from here on? And Mr. Pai, in the past, numerous times you've mentioned, at some point of time, you see this EBITDA per ton in Novelis go to $600 per ton. When is that?
So I think that first, to answer your question, and you actually did the math correct, we have roughly a 30 million EBITDA impact because of the CF flooding. And you will see that happen in Q2. So if you take the sort of baseline $525 per ton, 500 million a quarter EBITDA, you are going to see that 30 million hit coming in Q2. The second part of your question, when will we see the 600? We were always very clear when Bay Minette gets commissioned. So Bay Minette starts to get commissioned by sort of September of calendar year 26. So that's when you will start to see that EBITDA jump, because new volumes come in with a much better cost profile in Bay Minette.
Okay, so we'll wait by for that. So what about the IPO? I mean, there's been a lot said on it, back and forth on whether the IPO is happening or not happening. So what is the current situation? Has it been cancelled completely, or have you postponed it?
So we were very clear that the Novelis IPO was being done to realize a premium valuation for Novelis. We were not short of cash in India. As you know, our net debt to EBITDA is negative. Now, when we went for the IPO in June, the market conditions were such that we could have done the IPO, but we would have not got that premium valuation, which is why we decided not to do it. So we will continue to assess the market conditions. We still plan to go back to the market, but we will do it when we are sure we are going to get that premium valuation.
Okay, all right. So we'll wait by then for further clarity on Novelis. As you're saying, you're being a bit of an optimist out there and taking, looking at premium valuations on Novelis. Let's focus on the balance sheet then. What is the capex that you've lined up for this year as well as the debt? For Novelis, you had guided that you'll be at the lower end of the capex that was earlier guided. For the India operations, what will it be for this year?
So I think that the lower end guidance was given for the Novelis capex because they were guiding at the initial part 1.3 to 1.5. They are now saying that they're going to be at that lower end, which is $1.3 billion for this year. I think on the India side, we had guided 5,500 to 6,000, and we are going to be in that range. As you rightfully pointed out in Q1, a little bit of the working capital block happened. That's why the debt looks to have gone up, but that was largely because LME prices go up. So after a Q4 and Q1, a little bit of working capital block happens.
All right, we have understood most of the operational parameters as well as the balance sheet focus. But let's focus on another important aspect. Now, there is this fear that state governments will levy additional taxes post the Supreme Court ruling. If the state governments increase tax, retrospectively and even prospectively, what could the impact be on Hindalco?
So our first part of the analysis is the retrospective bit. I think on the retrospective bit, because that can only happen if you have been served a demand. So we do not see any exposure on the retrospective bit. On the prospective part, it certainly we will be in the same boat as most of our mining compatriots, because if the state increase their royalties, then that will add to the cost of the mining. And hence, our cost structures will go up and ultimately the consumer will pay. So I hope that the increase in royalties are done in a more thoughtful manner is the only thing I can say.
Okay, that's going to be an important verdict, of course. I think we're expecting the outcome today itself. So let's see. It will really pave the way for royalty payouts, any payouts to the state governments once it comes through. So thank you for the clarification on that. Finally, sir, just want to clarify on Hindustan Copper as well. Now, here the stock price has been fairly volatile. So have you heard from the government of India on their intentions about selling any stake?
No, and I think that, last time it came, we bid, then that not on the Hindustan Copper, but on two mines. And I think that probably what will happen is those mines again may get put up for mining, what they call a MDO with revenue shares. So we'll have to wait and see what happens. Whatever happens, we will remain very interested in them.
Okay, all right, Mr. Pai, thanks a lot for joining in and giving us all those details. So aluminium EBITDA per ton could come down a little bit, but hover around $1,000 per ton. Novelis will see a bit of a hit because of the flooding. Copper EBITDA per quarter will hold at around 600 crores odd. And interested in Hindustan Copper, but we'll be waiting by to see what progress and what the government has to say.